So what are your plans? Do you have any plans on bringing in some kind of maybe tech, AI, something to come in and help?
That's interesting, Nick, because I hear when other candidates call my supporters and they're saying, oh, we can't have somebody who's retired, or we cannot have somebody who's from the outside come in because they're going to change status quo. You know what? If you don't change status quo every single day and you don't innovate every single day, you're going to crash and burn as a business and as an organization. And this is a perfect example. This is interview number 2 here. Mm-hmm. You're getting bigger. You're buying new equipment. You're innovating every single day. Correct?
Correct.
The police department, the sheriff needs to do the same thing. We cannot stay status quo. And we need to continue looking at best practices that others are doing in order to be able to use technology to protect the Miami-Dade community. AI, I'm still a little uncomfortable with because it's too new.
Yeah.
And I see it a lot in the legal profession where lawyers are using AI to write briefs.
ChatGPTs.
The ChatGPT, they present it, and they get in trouble in the courts because the case that the ChatGPT came up with doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So
true.
AI is still too early on.
Yeah.
But it's a tool that we can look at in the future. It could be it could be used to help us write PR messages. It has a lot of its uses.
Yeah.
But it's too early on to incorporate into the criminal justice. We got to use the technologies like what you just showed us in the prior segment.
Yeah.
Stuff like that to help make the job safer for our cops and for the community.
I like it. I think, like everything, ChatGPT has its place, right? But you always need that human double-checking, looking. It's kind of good to set you up in a thing, but, double-check the work or set, like a baseline, and then you can build off of that.
And understand that AI is as good as what you put into it.
Correct.
So if you're not putting into it the right things, and we just saw that with Google, a huge embarrassment with Google.
Yeah, saw that. You saw that?
Yeah, so that's why it's still too early on to be able to incorporate.
And what about body-worn cameras and GPS? We're getting better with that, or you want more of that? You want less of that?
All the cars have GPS.
Correct.
And I think the body-worn camera has been huge for the simple reason that the complaints have fallen because now you have a independent source verifying what's going on. So I think it's been good for the community and good for police work to have.
All right, but we can do some disagreeing. Let's talk about body-worn camera stuff, right? So accountability for officers.
Yes.
This is something I want to move into. And it can be on both sides. It can be for officers or for the public. You're going to go against the public, right? As a sheriff, at one time, there's going to be times where you have to defend your officers. And I'm gonna walk it back and give you some examples. Some footage comes out of an officer in a questionable shooting, right? And it's just the tail end. You have the BWC footage, the body-worn camera footage at your disposal because it's your officer. You got to review the footage, and you're like, hey, wait a minute. I got the whole story. This is, and it's still very preliminary, but from when I look at it, the narrative that's out is that this officer was, just killed the person. Which is true, but it could have been justifiable, right?
Okay.
So how do you go on, right? How do you go as sheriff and address these kind of situations that might arise? There might be a crowd forming in front of your police station out in the parking lot, and they want questions, and they want you to come up with answers, and they want the head of the officer on a stick. And I'm just saying that as an example. Obviously, they don't really want the head, or maybe they do. But how do you go about addressing that? How are you going to handle that situation when something like that happens? Do you have the head on the stick? Is that what you're going to pull up?
Yeah, no.
We're getting graphic. This went dark.
See, that's where experience comes into play because there's numerous areas that you're bringing up there.
Mm-hmm.
Number one.
Unpack it, please.
It's very, very important that we have relationships with the community, with different members of the community. There's going to be times that the community is going to be upset at what we do. And we need to be able to reach out to those community leaders who trust you, who has an open dialogue with you so it can be discussed and we can relay it out to the community. At the same time, by being a practicing attorney, it is very important. Like we provide criminals due process, we need to provide officers due process. And just a lot of times, and I get caught in it as well, where I might say on TV a 40-second clip and they use 3 words.
Yeah.
we need to relate to the community and make sure they understand that the officer is entitled to due process, and we need to give that officer that period in order to be able to the investigation to play out and to be able to defend himself before a formal decision comes out. It's not going to happen in 2 days. It's not going to happen in a week. Statute requires for that to happen within 6 months. For administrative investigations and criminal investigations, you have more time, but you need to give the process time to work. That's why we need a strong state attorney, a strong investigative unit, independent investigative unit, looking at these allegations so the community can have trust in what's coming out. We cannot, again, manage by crisis and react to a crisis. We need to operate the crisis in order so the right thing occurs in the very end.
I want the officer's head on a stick. And we're not leaving your parking lot until you provide it.
And they have a right to demonstrate. They have a right to express their thoughts. But again, you have to identify who that leader of that group is and have that conversation with them and let them understand. And if you've been doing this long enough and you have the relationships with the community long enough, they can understand this guy's real, this guy's not being dishonest with me. Let's trust the process.
Okay. And if they're getting a little rowdy?
They have the right to demonstrate.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're talking about accountability. You're talking about integrity.
Right.
Guess what? Your actions are the ones that give you accountability and integrity, correct?
Absolutely.
And then why is it we have 7 candidates? They are on duty, being paid by the county salary, county car, county email, county phone, politicking on duty. Why isn't the community in an uproar that they're paying, that their taxes are paying for somebody to politic for this job?